I'm Donna Druchunas. I'd like to take a few minutes today to tell you about my two books, Ethnic Knitting Discovery and Ethnic Knitting Exploration. These books are designed to help you figure out how to make sweaters that are custom fit to your body using techniques that come from around the world with pattern stitches and colors that you choose yourself. It was really fun to put these books together because I got to tell stories about different places around the world, some of the places I visited, and some of the places are on my wish list to visit in the future. But I got to learn about these places by reading and studying about the knitting traditions from different cities and regions and countries. So I hope you'll have fun joining me as we look together at how these books work and the places that I've covered. In my book, Ethnic Knitting Discovery, I visit places in Norway, Denmark, the Netherlands, and the Andes. Of all those places, the only one I visited so far is the Netherlands. I spent some time in Holland, in Amsterdam last summer, and it was a lot of fun. And I hope that I'll be able to visit these other places in the future. But in my book, I tell you stories about the knitters in those places and what kind of things they made in the past. And we look at how we can take the stitches and techniques that they use to make sweaters for ourselves today. In these books, there are 3 different methods you can use to design your own sweater. The first one just has a drawing where you fill in a few numbers and then you just cast on and go. If you don't know what numbers you need to calculate your size and the number of stitches that you need, I have a worksheet in there that helps you go step by step through figuring out the numbers to put on the drawing. And if you still need a little bit more help, I've got detailed instructions that you can go through and everything matches up. So let's take a look inside the books and see how this works. Now we're going to make our own pattern. And so I've got 3 different options for you here. In the first option, you can start with just a diagram. And it's got some blanks here where you can fill in numbers. So you'll see here we have a number 1 and there's a number 1 here. And it says cast on so many stitches. And this would be 90% of the main number of stitches. And if you look here, you'll see the main number of stitches is on the body. The body width is the main number of stitches. And we use a smaller amount for the ribbing. And then we increase to that main number of stitches. And that's number 2, and you can see number 2 here, that's where we're working on the body. Number 3, we separate for the upper back and upper front. That's where we're making the armhole openings, and that's right here at the beginning of the armhole. So you can see if you've got some familiarity with sweater construction and techniques for making sweaters, you might be ready to do something like this on your own. But if you have no idea where these numbers would come from, then you can look at option 2. And in option 2, I have a planning worksheet for you, where you take the information from your gauge swatch, your stitch gauge and your row gauge, and the measurements of the sweater that you're copying or from the sizing charts, the body width, body circumference, the length that you want, and so forth, and you fill in all these measurements. And some of the measurements are calculations based on other ones. For example, the armhole depth, a good way to calculate that is 1/4 of the body circumference. Of course, if you've measured a sweater that you like, you just put in the number you want. But if you're working this out from scratch and you're not copying another sweater, you can use these guidelines to calculate the numbers you need. So we do measurements, and then we go forward and we do stitch counts. And here's where we take, say, our body measurement times our gauge, and we figure out how many stitches we will need for our sweater. And it walks you step by step through getting all the numbers that you need. And you can fill these numbers in on the drawing we were looking at. And some knitters will be ready to go and make their sweater from that. But if you need even more help, I've got step-by-step instructions that go through for you, just as if you were working from a pattern, only you're filling in all of your own numbers to make your size and your gauge with the yarn that you've chosen. And you can see here we've got a number 1, just like the number 1 we looked at back here. So that matches up. That's the same step. You can also see we've got these A, B, C letters in the columns, and those match up to the numbers that you got from your calculations. So it all fits together into a puzzle, and the solution of the puzzle is a pattern for the sweater made just for you. Each chapter in Ethnic Knitting Discovery and Ethnic Knitting Exploration also includes a practice project, something simple like a scarf or a poncho or a pair of fingerless gloves that you can make first to learn some of the techniques and practice the knitting stitches before you start working on a sweater. One interesting thing about Ethnic Knitting Exploration and Ethnic Knitting Discovery is that the only color pictures on the book are on the cover. There's nothing in color inside, and I did that for several reasons. First, I want you to use your imagination when you're designing your sweaters and come up with color combinations that you like. I don't want you to copy what I did or what somebody else did and make that exact sweater. There are plenty of patterns out there on Ravelry and knitting books in your yarn shop that you can do and get a hold of if you want to make a sweater exactly as someone else did. But what I want to do with my books is help you to be able to make things that are customized for your own tastes. And that's